Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now September 15th of 2023, and as you all know, there's been a lot of problems happening with Rachel Zegler over at Disney. It has put them in a very odd position right now, ever since her comments about Andrew Burnap and Snow White 1937 about the prince being a stalker. That's what really damaged their overall image, and we talked about how that really put Rachel Zegler in a lot of trouble, in a lot of problematic situations between herself and the Disney higher-ups, and the situation just got even worse as we move along throughout this entire ongoing drama that surrounds Snow White 2024. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into what's happening with the whole Zegler firing situation. Now, we know that Disney is trying to save their image. They're trying to salvage whatever they can right now after what's been going on with the Zegler interviews that resurfaced from quite a while ago, that went viral, mind you, that really made themselves look really bad. Now, we talked about this the other day, about how some of the things that Zegler said were off, planning. And what I mean by that is that Zegler was specifically instructed by Disney and coached on what to say and what not to say. And there were a couple of things that she said that were not instructed by Disney that really got her into serious trouble. Now, that brings us to exactly what's going on with the firing situation and how she was recently removed, not just from Snow White projects, but as it turns out, from other Disney movies that were supposed to be quite major, that are still happening, but Disney's now looking for other talents to actually take place. Now, of course, with Disney going through many issues with actress Rachel Zegler, one major development has to do with her firing from Disney. As it turns out, Zegler was previously assigned to other Disney projects that was going to be separate from the Snow White projects that she was actually fired and removed from. These two films were going to be announced at next year's D23 event that have now been cancelled due to Rachel's firing from Disney due to her recent comments about Snow White. First, she was going to be the voice of a main character in a new animated film that Disney is now working on that is described to be inspired from not just Elemental, but also from the Shrek series by DreamWorks Animation. Zegler was also assigned to be the lead character in this animated movie and was immediately removed and fired from this project after the Snow White interviews recently went viral and damaged Disney's image even further. The second project that she was attached to was going to focus on Disney's new spy film movie series to compete against Tom Cruise, Skydance, and Paramount. Zegler was attached to be one of the spy girls in this new franchise that Disney is building right now behind the scenes. Now, let me just stop here for 1 second. Now, we talked about this, about how Disney wanted all these actresses and actors that are already affiliated with Disney to take part in this new spy film franchise. Phoebe Waller-Bridge was going to be involved. She was let go as well. Rachel Zegler is the latest example of someone who was fired and removed from this actual franchise. So basically what Disney is trying to do is that they're not only trying to compete against DreamWorks on the animation scale, but they're also trying to compete against Paramount and Skydance with their success of Mission Impossible in the live-action sense of things. And this just goes to show you how out of touch with reality Disney really is. Nobody's going to want to watch a Disney-fied version of Mission Impossible. It's just not going to happen. Now, we talked about this, about how this new spy film franchise is going to have a budget quite as big as Pirates of the Caribbean, with the Johnny Depp movies I'm talking about. The budget is reportedly going to be that large. And that's a mistake in and of itself, given that there is a cost containment plan active by Bob Iger. And if you really want to spend that much money on a franchise that you're not even sure will succeed, that just goes to show you how naive Disney really is and how overconfident they really are with some of their projects and inventions, right? So moving onwards, we know that Rachel Zegler said quite a number of dumb things about Snow White. Let's be clear about that. Let's just recap real quick. She said that the prince was a stalker. She said that she doesn't need to be saved by the prince, etc., etc. But there were some things that she was not allowed to say. and she was not instructed by Disney to say things like that about Andrew Burnap's scenes getting cut, and how, you know, the prince was weird, all these different things. That was all not instructed by Disney, as it turns out. What was instructed by Disney was Gal and Rachel talking about how she's not going to be saved by the prince, etc., etc. Everything else was all Disney. So moving onwards, alright? This is where matters get even worse. So both of these projects are currently still in the works. However, Zegler was fired and removed from both, and that now Disney is looking for a new actress. The Zegler animated film that she was fired from was going to be a competitor to Shrek, and is currently setting itself up as a Shrek-like movie in spirit by Disney to obtain that success. This comes after Disney is also trying to top DreamWorks Animation. This is quite ironic, since DreamWorks, back in the day, used Shrek to compete against Disney by making a parody on fairy tales. Disney is now said to be looking for an A-list actress instead of Zegler to obtain the main lead of this Disney Shrek-like movie that will be announced next year as well at their D23 event. Zegler's comments about the prince being a stalker and Andrew Burnap's scenes getting cut are what ultimately led to her removal from these projects by Disney. Now, we already talked about how there's also a lot of Hollywood studios that want nothing to do with Zegler anymore because she is indeed box office poison, much like how Phoebe Waller-Bridge is, and also much like how Brie Larson is as well, and let's not forget about Amber Heard. We all know that Aquaman 2 is going to tank at the box office, not just because of her, but the movie looks like complete garbage, let's be honest. And the studio with that film, they're so not confident about it to the point where they have had discussions about pulling that movie and not even releasing it in theaters, which is pretty serious, but I digress. The thing about Disney right now is that they are such in a delicate situation that they have to do whatever is necessary, even if it is bad press, and they really have to do what's necessary to really kind of move forward. And look, at the end of the day, we know that there's a lot of talks right now that Disney wants to sell ABC and all these different things. It just is further proof that Disney is falling apart month by month throughout 2023. You can only imagine how worse it's going to be for them in 2024. And there's quite a number of things that we will be covering about what Bob Iger had to say about Disney that I think is quite ridiculous. We'll talk about that later on, so stay tuned. But Rachel Zegler, again, this is a prime example of once you say things and it goes on the internet, it cannot be undone. The internet is forever. Anything that you say or do online will remain as is, and it will damage your career, it will damage your persona or whatever you're doing for your movies and promoting things, and that's exactly why it led to her removal. So anyway, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about Disney's planning here for a Shrek-like movie and the spy film franchise, and how Zegler was fired and removed from those as a result of her Snow White comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.
Night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.